Welcome to the Jill on Money Coronavirus Market Update. It is Sunday, May 17th. And this is the second part of my interview with Dan Roth, the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn. If you missed yesterday's interview, just check your feed out. And if you're not subscribing, shame on you. You can subscribe to us anywhere you got this podcast. Apple, Stitcher, radio.com, Google Play, wherever, but subscribe. That way you won't miss anything. So we did part one with Dan Roth yesterday. We talked a lot about working from home and the future of business travel. Today, we're talking to Dan about which industries are seeing demand in this current environment, and also what advice he would give to college graduates. So here is part two of our interview with Dan Roth. Where are you seeing growth on LinkedIn in terms of searches and companies that are hiring right now?
Yeah, well, the growth in hiring is happening on anyone who is involved with computer engineering and hardware. We're seeing a lot of need for people to basically keep the systems up that we all rely on today. And if you are someone we're doing this call and we're relying on the network to be able to stay up while we do it. I've got everyone in my home is right now on a screen trying to do school or whatever it is they're doing, and those networks have to stay up. So if you are involved at all in any kind of networking, you're hiring. There is hiring for delivery. Everywhere else, it's not great. I mean, you look at retail has been absolutely decimated. Media is getting hurt really badly. There's a lot more negatives than there are positives right now.
What do you think is going to be the resulting labor market on the other side of this? Will we have unemployment remain at the 5-8% level for a while? What's your best guess?
I don't know which industries are going to be the ones who come back. I know that I'm fairly confident that we're going to see a large growth in small businesses and people trying to launch their own thing just because they don't have any other options elsewhere. And I also think we'll see a pretty large disparity in where the jobs are, not necessarily what industries they are, but where they are. So as an example, there are real regional trends that are going on right now with hiring. Our own data shows that Miami had what's considered these days as a mild drop in hiring, about 20% drop in hiring in May, versus Chicago, which had a almost 40% drop in hiring. And then there's the openings. There's some places that are opening and there's some places that are not, that are closed. We're going to have the pandemic causing some cities to open and then close again. And so there's just going to be I think that you'll see real differences around the country in where the jobs are.
I remember your boss, Jeff Weiner, coming on our air and talking about soft skills of college graduates and graduate school folks, that was going to be important. How do you see that balance between, now you're talking about networking, computer engineering, and hardware? What kind of soft skills does one need in an era where more people are working from home, where we're doing more Zoom meetings or just, calling and not in person? How would you hire for those skills if you were, hiring new young writers?
The skills that employers demand are the ones that show that you know how to communicate and how to be persuasive. And no matter what, we all need, you've heard over and over again, you need to be a programmer, you need to know how to code, you have to have these technical skills, you've got to be an expert in certain areas. Those kind of skills really help you get started, and they help you get ahead for a short period of time. But to rise to the top, you have to have these soft skills. Now, in a post-pandemic world, in a world where you have a much more distributed workforce, and where there is going to be pretty massive changes in the kind of industries that are around or the new kinds of jobs that are created, I think there are two really big things that are going to matter. One is communication skills. And that's communication over a phone call, over a video conference, over email, and in person. How do you talk to people? How do you get your point across? The second one, and this is a really important one, is adaptability. How well can you adapt to the changing environment? That one defines everything, because it means if you're in a large company and your division shuts down or the world changes like it just did, being adaptable means that you can actually write it out. So you might have a skill to get you a job, but if you want to keep that job, the communication skill and the adaptability are what are going to enable you to hold on to the job and then to rise through the ranks. One example, we've been looking for stories of companies that have gone above the call, that have done a lot for their employees or for their communities. And there's a bookstore in Michigan that immediately did a GoFundMe with their customers. They raised enough money from people who they had such a good relationship with their customers that people just gave money to a bookstore. And it was enough for them to hold on to, I think it was 22 of their 24 employees. So smart move by the owners to realize the environment has changed, and they switched to an online ordering process. They had none of that before. They quickly embraced technology. They accelerated something that was already going on. They realized they had to be in the digital age. Even more fascinating to me was there was a bar in Boston who changed the bar was closed down. They couldn't have patrons in, but they realized the owner realized that people needed antibody testing, and he switched his bar to become an antibody testing center. Totally adapted, totally changed his entire business when the world changed. That to me is the kind of adaptability that will be required to make it in whatever this great reset is that we're going through.
I want to end with, we're talking, it's May, it's graduation season. It is so awful that many of our college students, they've been toiling or drinking for 4 years. They're finally done. They're going to enter the labor force, and the labor force is a mess. What advice do you have for recent graduates?
I'm not sure this is the best advice, and I think that we are all trying to figure this out together. I can tell you what I would do if I were in their shoes. I would know in general where I want to be, what kind of industry, what I want to do in general in the long run. And then I would get any job I could to pay the bills and start figuring out how to network with those people who are in that industry. And I think that if you can't get the perfect job, get a job. Get a job, and then you have to hustle on the side to be able to land where you want to land. It is not going to be easy for these graduates. It is going to be very, very difficult. And they have been told for years that they should pursue what they love. I still think that is good advice, but I would say do not hold out to get that perfect job in the exact area you want. It is going to be a lot of hard work, and you're going to have to work overtime to get noticed and to get attention and to get a book of business in that area, but that's what you got to do.
Thanks so much to Dan Roth. Again, if you missed yesterday's interview, just go back, check out your feed. He's great. And you can find Dan on LinkedIn. He does so much great work, and he does some fantastic interviews himself. If you would like to send us a question, just email us. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. We're distributed by Cadence 13. And right now, we want to remind you, what is the most important thing that you can do? Take care of yourself, take care of your family, wash the hands, wear the mask, socially distance, be nice, do something good for somebody else. It will do your soul very good. We'll talk to you tomorrow.